And welcome back to episode 144 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
And we are back for our, I guess, annual iPhone event roundup, isn't it? I was about to say
Is this the
twice.
one where I watch it and text you live?
That's the one, yeah. Because
That's the one.
some of us have got a job to do. No, this is that time of year again. Of course, like the day is long, the sun shines. Apple will release a new iPhone every September. At least that's how it has been for many
No
years.
surprises.
No surprises at all there. And given the event that happened on the 12th, I don't think we had any real surprises anyway, did we? To be honest with you.
No. It was. I thought we were because they started off and I went, right, let's talk about Mac. And I was like, wasn't expecting that. But they were just bigging up how well the new 50
Mac was selling.
Mac Air had sold. And I was like, oh, okay, that was a little bit of a disappointment to start off with. But yeah, I thought we were going to get a surprise.
Yeah, and I think from what I've seen, I appreciate you watched it live. I've come back and kind of retroactively looked at the updates and some of the recordings. And I tell you what strikes me, and I think a few other critics have said this as well. The leaks are getting surprisingly accurate.
They are. There was one leak I wanted to be accurate that wasn't, and we'll talk about that one later.
We will indeed. But
yeah, they are pretty much nailed it. But there were still some surprises I wasn't expecting.
No, I've got a couple down. I think we're hoping we'll probably be in line with the points on that. But yeah, this was an iPhone event, and let's get this out of I guess the elephant in the room straight away. It was an iPhone and a watch event. There was no other hardware released, was there? So there was no Macs, there was no iPads.
Oh, wait a sec. No. There was a new case for the AirPods.
I'm so sorry. Yes, a new case. But what I mean is, there was no new products.
There was a new earpod as well. But again, we'll talk about that one later.
but they're not new products, are they? If
no, new shattering product lines.
No. Yeah, there's a reason why they've been re-released. But
can you guess what it is?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing here is that a lot of people were thinking we might see, potentially, more updates on the Vision Pro. Actually, all they really kind of Tim Cook kind of alluded to, but things were going great, weren't they? That was it. So the Vision Pro, I think, will probably have another update event very likely next year. That's my view on this.
Yeah, we'll see. We only had, I suppose, it was the developer event, really, wasn't it? We should get a consumer one, I imagine.
We will. Yeah, and I think again we probably will see an iPad update probably spring next year. That's probably realistic, unless they do what they've done in a couple of years past, slipped out iPads. Event. Yeah, or done a press release.
Yeah, they could silently just release it. Yeah,
because we haven't had the M3 launch yet, and that will probably happen. I reckon that'll happen in the springtime as well.
That's what I thought we were getting when he said, "Let's talk about Mac." I was saying to my son, we were watching it with him. It's like, "Oh, M3," and then it was just disappointment.
No M3. So yeah, that's my view. I personally think we're going to see M3 springtime, which probably would align very well with kind of the way things are going, isn't it? And without the rush to do it, the M2 isn't that old now. It's not really old, is it? To be honest,
no, not at all.
And I'm sat here, using an M2 Pro chip, and it works particularly well. But with that, then let's kick into the meat of the conversation. Let's have a chat then about the iPhone. So let's kick off with the iPhone 15 and I want to say the base model. That probably doesn't really do it the justice, does it?
As John Prosser calls it, the poor people's phone. But it's not. It's still an expensive phone. It's definitely not a poor person's phone. But yeah, we obviously got the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Plus. It's bigger sibling there. So what you're really looking at here is last year's 14 Pro and Pro Max. So we got
with a couple of tweaks, yeah.
A couple of tweaks, yeah. We got the the A16 from the 14 Pro. We got Dynamic Island, so we have Dynamic Island over all the 15s now. So I'm hoping we might actually see a bit more software use of that now that it's on the entire lineup. Obviously, with the exception of the SE. That's still around, isn't it? The iPhone SE, so that obviously won't have Dynamic Island.
No, and before you go any further, I have to say you and I have been using the Dynamic Island with a lot of apps for quite some time. There's quite a few apps that are really
it. I just want more apps to use it.
And that's the thing. I mean, for me, one of my favorite apps is Flighty. The flight tracking app.
Yep.
That works really well with it. I really love the music. Some of the built-in apps as well. I think, personally speaking,
Uber was great with it. Well, when I'm traveling, I'm using Uber for my taxis, and it shows you its progress of getting to you. Do a quick glance, on the always on screen. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
No, exactly. So I would like to see that. I'm hoping that now it's in the entire range, more developers will use it rather than just making a bespoke bit for the pros range. So fingers crossed on that. What else do we get on it? Obviously, we got an upgraded OLED display. What they call it this time, Super Retina XDR. They've increased the brightness, so it'll actually go up to 1600 nits normally and boost to 2000 nits. When you're outside. So that's apparently double the brightness of the previous gen, the 14 standard, so that's nice. Still only 60 hertz though. You're not getting the pro motion like you do in the pro, so that's kind of where it differs.
Yeah,
Um, it looks like we've got the 48 megapixel main camera from the 14 Pro going into it, so that's a big upgrade there. And this is coming to the entire range. Actually, got this improved portrait mode. Meant to give you more detail and richer color. I'm not entirely sure if that's software or hardware mix, but we're getting that both on the Pro and the non-Pro. But again, nicely, you can switch focus after the photo's been taken, just like the 14
yeah, it's
Pro.
good,
So if
isn't
you
it?
take it, you can then change the focal range and click somebody else's face and focus in on them, which is great. But the bit I really liked actually is they're now using AI. So when you take a photo, an AI detects a subject, a person, or an animal in the shot. Even if you haven't got portrait mode enabled, it will automatically capture the depth data. So you can go back later and turn it into a portrait.
That's a really smart move, actually, when you think about it,
Yeah.
isn't it? Uh, I, I think and again, portrait mode is one of those things that was seen as a gimmick to start with, wasn't it? With the whole bokeh,
Yeah.
and kind of like how do you get the most out? But I love portrait mode. I think it takes some really nice pictures. What I've
It does.
personally found is you really you really need to get the lighting well, don't you? If you don't get the lighting right, it sometimes can
I've
look
had some odd looking ones before.
and
But
it can look really over engineered as well. I find that's the other
yeah.
problem.
But generally, I get a good picture. I haven't checked whether that's backwards compatible with the 14 Pro, whether that's software or whether that's hardware on the AI bit. Be interested to check because one of the other features that they announced was Heath Max. So
Yes.
he's not a character. No,
No, is
that's
he
a
not? It
feature
sounds
on your
like
phone. No. So basically, before you got on the 14 Pros and obviously on these new ones, you have the 48 megapixel camera. But by standard, it only takes a 12 megapixel, doesn't it? It does pixel binning, I think, where it combines 4 pixels into one to give you better low light abilities and stuff like that. And you can only get the full 48 megapixel using ProRAW, which obviously gives you 48 megapixel pictures, huge pictures with none of Apple's post processing. You need to um, put them in a photo app, alter them afterwards to get the best out of them. So this Heath Max, though, what it does, it takes the 48 megapixel photo, applies Apple's image processing, and then shrinks it down to around 5 megabytes, which is a lot bigger than standard photos. Obviously, nowhere near the size of the 48 megapixel, but you don't need to do any post processing yourself afterwards. And I've been having a
Yeah.
quick play of this because this has been backported to the 14 Pro range. So I'm running the iOS 17. So I've been having a play with that. And yeah, I've only done a quick one. I took some quick photos of my keyboard. One in normal, just because it was in front of me. And I thought, right, I can hold my hands close enough, take a photo, turn on Heath Max, take a photo again, put it on the PC on the big screen and take a look. And there's definitely more detail in the Heath Max version of it while
How
still
do you?
looking the
Okay,
same.
quick question. How do you know it's apart from when you turn on the camera
Uh-huh.
and you've got on the top right the Heath Max? How do
Yeah.
you know it is really taking Heath Max pictures?
I don't know. Other than I mean, the photo size was bigger when I exported them to the
The
PC.
reason I
But
asked that is after we were having a chat this morning pre-recording,
yeah,
and I realised that even though I'd selected Heath Max as the option instead of ProRes in the camera
yep,
settings, when I took a picture, uh, as you reminded me, it doesn't default to that. So you might
no,
change that, but then you have to go in and make it default anyway. So I went back and took a test picture myself this morning of a paperweight on my desk, and I've just got it here in front of me, and I've clicked on the photo app information. It does say Heath. It doesn't say Heath Max. It says Heath. Are we
right.
pronouncing that right? Is it Hive or Heath? I can't remember.
I don't know on that one.
But it was only a one. It's only a 1 megabyte 1 megabyte image.
I'm just having a look. Right, so I deleted it. I've just brought them back now. I'm on the phone and I swipe up to bring up the photo information. It
Yeah.
does say 48 megapixel as the 4.7 meg. Whilst my normal one, non-Heath, though it is saved in Heath, just not Heath Max, says 12 megapixel,
Okay, so
1.9.
mine is not taking pictures in Heath Max.
Interesting. Are you on the? I'm assuming you're on the GM version they released the other day.
Yeah. So I've got the camera open. I'm in photo. At the top, where it says
Yeah.
top right of the picture, you've got the symbols Heath Max. If I hold down my finger on Heath Max, hold down, you get a selection. You get RAW 12, RAW Max.
Yeah.
So if I go to RAW Max, let's try that instead. Take a picture. Go to my photos library. Click the photo. Click information. No, it still says 12 megapixel camera. How peculiar.
Very okay. Then if you did raw and you're still only getting 12, then there's something weird there because that should be you should have the option of 12 or 48 on raw, shouldn't you? On pro raw, whatever they call it.
Yeah, very peculiar, and I don't
Yeah.
understand what's going
Heath
on.
Max,
But
raw
I'll need
12
to.
or raw
I
max.
probably need to investigate that a bit more.
Yes,
Here's a
definitely.
question for you. I think I know what the problem is. If you zoom in using the optical zoom, it turns off the 48 megapixel camera.
I just left mine at was it 1x?
That's the
When I
problem.
was doing
There we
my
are.
test.
There we are, dear listeners. There is your problem. So if you are on Heath Max or that or ProRes and you're on your camera and you press a 3 optical zoom, it will default to the 12 megapixel camera. So if I've done it again now, selected
Just
Heath
checking
Max.
what I've done now. I've just done one now for it. So yeah, 12
Yeah,
megapixel as well. So
48 megapixel. There we go. Problem solved. There we are. There we are. We've look at that PSA for you all.
Oh, I know. So it's got to be the 1x then, has it? Not the 3x.
Yeah, 1x.
Right. No, okie dokie. Because it's using the 48 megapixel main sensor and not the. Yeah, you can't magically add extra pixels.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Gotcha.
So that
anyway, we digress. So with that obviously being backported to the 14 Pro, I need to test whether this enable portrait mode after the fact would also work on the 14 Pro. So I'll test
question.
that later. I'll find out. But what else did we get?
So I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you mentioned it about the one thing I wanted to kind of come back to, if that was all right. So we talked it. Basically, it's the same. It is basically an iPhone 14 Pro, isn't it? Basically, the 15. So the A16 Bionic chip in it is the one that came out last year with the Pro and the Pro Max.
It is, yes.
But apparently there is a bit of an update, isn't it? Because there appears to be some power efficiencies, important and memory bandwidth increase over the A15 chip that debuted in the iPhone 10 and 14. Yeah, so some of the later reviews that have come out, some tests that have been done, obviously more information's come out. They're saying there's a 50% increase in memory bandwidth over the A15. So unless they've just, I don't know, is this improvements over the cores? I'm not entirely sure, really.
Oh, I don't know. I hadn't seen that one.
No, I just was puzzled, to be honest with you. So
okay, one for us to investigate.
Indeed. But please do carry on telling us about the good features.
So, we got a new ultra wideband chip, the second generation of ultra wideband chip. So apparently improved location accuracy and be able to find my stuff.
It does work really well, I have to say. Since that first came out, that is it the U1 chip? This must be the U2 chip. I'm guessing now.
Yeah, that's the one.
There's a gag there somewhere. I should have.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to say the wideband capability for finding items like lost keys with the AirTags works very well. I mean, that's a really valid point. I am really surprised that Apple have not yet released a second generation AirTag.
What would they add to it? I'm trying to think how they'd improve it.
I'm thinking
the chip definitely, but is it worth a whole new one? I mean, the first one's very good. I have no complaints about the first one.
I don't have any complaints with it. I was just saying I'm surprised, given the improvements over, the chips, power efficiency, that kind of stuff, that we haven't seen a second generation AirTag. Apple do like to make new stuff. Let's be honest.
They do. Well, maybe we'll get one later in the year.
Possibly, but it just occurred to me on that point. Yeah.
We've got a nice new added bit for the. You get satellite comms with the 15 now, just like you did on the 14 Pro. Yeah, but you can now use it for roadside assistance.
You stole one of the. You stole one of the surprises.
Yeah, roadside assistance, but US only at the moment. I hope people see that roll out to other countries. That means if you can use the satellite thing when you've got no signal and your car's broken down to get someone out to come and fix it.
That's the AAA, isn't it? So the American Automobile
AAA,
Association.
yeah, the American version of AA in
Yeah.
the UK.
So I think again, this is a really clever point because it's not just up a mountain, is it, or down a ravine that you may not have signal. If
No,
you're in a rural area, now obviously that's more likely to happen in a large country like the United States than it is, say,
there's still plenty of
uh,
places in the UK that have no signal.
it's very true near where I live, quite frankly.
The Highlands of Scotland on holiday, there were some moments where we had no signal at all.
That may have been through choice. I think you're right. I think it is definitely a way to do it. I think it's a really good feature addition, and actually, given that we've already seen several rescues already using the emergency SOS capability and things like the crash detection, I wonder how long it will be before we see more success stories from the use of this as well. And it's interesting
Definitely.
as well, isn't it, that they were talking about charging it. Do you remember they were saying this was going to work for 12 months?
Yeah, free for 2 years, isn't it, with your
Yeah,
new purchase? So,
yeah.
what happens in a year if I've still got my 14 Pro Max? Are they going to be charging? Yeah, there was no mention of charging on
No,
Colossus,
that's what I
was
mean.
there?
It's no mention. It's been very. That's I would say that point's very quiet, isn't
But
it?
they've still got another year before they potentially have to start charging anyone.
Yeah, I'm just.
So
It's just again these
maybe
small
next year we'll
things.
hear about it. This time
Maybe,
next year.
maybe.
Now, this is what made me laugh the entire time. We're all waiting for this. We're all waiting for the change of the port. And they didn't show the underside of the phone at all in any of the shots until they got to it, did they? When they
No.
announced USB C is coming to the iPhone 15 range. But interestingly, well, they didn't say it at this point, okay? So obviously you can use this USB C with your single cable. You can very nicely use it to charge your watch and your AirPods from the phone. And it wasn't until later when we were talking about the 15 Pro that they were saying the USB C port has 10 gigabit speeds. So we were like, wait a sec. If that's on the Pro and you've mentioned the speed, what do you get on the non Pro? Of course, you get USB 2 speeds, 480 megabits a second, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this has obviously caused a lot of hoo-ha in the press, hasn't it? And people outraged that we're only getting USB 2 speeds with the USB-C. Now, I don't know your thoughts on this. USB-C is just a port design, isn't it? It has nothing to
Exactly.
do with the
No.
speed or the capabilities. And we were amusing offline at why would they only do it? And actually, I don't think it's Apple being segregating the products. I think it's the fact that they're still using the A16. So the A16 chip in the current 14 Pro and the new 15 was designed with Lightning in mind. What's the betting it only has a USB 2 controller built into the chip?
Well, is it USB 2 or is it would it support USB 3.2 Gen 1 or is it?
Well, it won't do those speeds, no. I'm
Well,
guessing
yeah, but
they're
that's 5
backwards
gig, isn't
compatible,
it?
so I can plug a USB 3.1 device into it and it will recognize it. It will just run if it's doing data transfer at USB 2 speeds.
Exactly that, and that's the thing. You're right. If the controller on the SoC can't
Yeah.
support it, you're right. It doesn't matter what you plug into it, does it? It's not going to work.
No, and Apple weren't going to build a second version of the A16 with a USB free chip in it just to support this.
No, and what we've seen here with this phone is what we saw last year with the 14.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Where we saw them take the previous year's Pro models and
Yeah.
basically just polish and step
So
up, didn't they?
the
Really?
standard iPhone 16 next year will have, I very much guarantee it, USB 3.1 10 gigabit speeds because you'll have the chip. The USB 3.1
Well,
controller
it's three,
will
three,
be in
well,
there.
3.2. It's a 3.2. So 10
Well, this is
gigas.
where we get to the USB naming conventions.
Well, yeah,
This
okay.
is
Well,
a whole other podcast about the
well,
mess that is, but it's
yeah,
10 gigabit speed.
3.1
So,
Gen 2 is it, or Super Speed Plus, isn't
but
it?
is it
Depending on
Gen
what.
1 or Gen 2 or Gen 2 by 2?
Well, the previous name was three. So the previous name, according to who is the hardware company, isn't it? The clarification. I can't remember which one it is. The
The
IE in
I,
it.
yeah, that's the one, yeah.
I can't remember, but anyway, oh no, sorry, it's the USB Implementers Forum. USB-IF is a group that oversees the standards, and so I did this earlier because I checked. So USB 5, so USB 5 gig is the current name for the bottom end,
Yeah,
right?
because they've changed them all again.
And that is USB 3.2 Gen 1, which used to be known as
Right.
USB 3,
Yeah.
USB 3.1, or Super Speed. And that supports up to 5 gig.
Okay, so it's
And
3.2 Gen 2, then, isn't it?
Yeah, 3.2 Gen 2, which supports 10 gig, and that's super
Because 2
speed
by 2 is
2.
the 20 gig one.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got USB 3, what used to be known as 3.2, which is also 10 gig, and that one's USB-C only. But USB, it's weird. Basically,
It's
there's two.
confusing.
But basically, if you want 20 gig, you say it's 3.2 Gen 2 times 2, and then above that we get into theoretical numbers at that point.
We
But
do.
yeah, back to your point, I think you're exactly right here. This is a lack of understanding by the general public on
And a fair number of media outlets I'm going to put out there as well.
I agree on the capabilities of what a port versus the actual chip, the
Yeah, I
controller
can have a
chip that's
USB
inside of it.
1, 12 megasecond or whatever it is, with a USB-C port. The same as you get USB A ports and B ports, a micro USB, they're just a physical port connection.
Exactly. So I think you're onto something here in that you're right. Using the previous generation chip, it has the same controller as the Lightning, which is USB
It's based on
USB
USB 2,
2
wasn't it? Yeah.
USB 2 speeds for making simplicity, and the controller therefore cannot support any more than what 480 megasecond is that? Is that
Yeah,
the
yeah,
speed?
speed, yeah, somewhere around that. But yeah, it will still work with your 3 point whatever things. You just won't get full speed if you're talking data transfer.
No, of course it won't. It won't do anything. But for charging, it's fine. And I
Yeah.
think this is the key point here. What we're seeing here as well is that the majority of people, and I stress the majority of people, will not care what transfer speeds are here because most people with who are going to buy this phone are going to be using either AirDrop, they're going to be using Wi-Fi. We've got charging via USB-C. It supports charging via MagSafe under the
Yeah.
Qi 2 support thing.
G2,
Plus,
yeah.
it's got Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.3. So, from a wireless transfer speed, as I stress, the majority of consumers will not see any speed difference whatsoever here.
No, and if they are plugging in, chances are 9 out of 10 people are only going to be using it for charging.
Yeah.
Which, quite annoyingly, with going to USB-C, I don't think they enabled any faster charging that we're aware of at the moment. You're still capped
Not at
at,
the moment,
is
no.
it 20 watts? Somewhere around that. There's no 200 watt fast charge or anything like that, unfortunately. I'm
No.
sure Apple would have mentioned that if there was.
But the whole point here is also that they've got the battery efficiency charging. So we've got Qi 2 MagSafe, however you want to do that. So it's going to be clever. It's going to get the smart battery charging, is it? To understand how you use the phone. So I think it's not really going to impact most people.
No.
When we talk about the Ultra in a minute, the Pro Max, sorry, I mean, that's a different. We'll talk a little bit differently there, but we'll come to that in a minute.
Yeah, definitely. I think to round that up, we got some new colours. We got pink, and then we've got blue, yellow, green, and black. They've got a frosted glass on the back now, which is a new one for the 15 range. Pricing wise, it's the same price as the 14 plus were. Same storage, 128, 256, 512, terabyte, I think, on those.
Yeah, there we go. I think absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Yeah, actually, I would probably argue this was the biggest upgrade for any of the phones that were announced.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice phone. And the colors, let's not get into that whole argument about the colors. They're nice. They're pleasing to the eye. The black's black, which for a change, isn't it? By the look of it.
Yep.
The pink one will probably sell the best, I suspect.
Like the bucket load, yeah.
And I bet you early next year there'll be a product red, and I bet you early next year there'll be another color launched as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think generally speaking, if you are running an iPhone 13, this is probably a good upgrade.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Or actually, for anyone who wants a better camera, because you're going from a 12 meg to a 48 megapixel.
Yeah, perhaps so. I think you're right. It's probably not as big a update from a 14 unless you're looking at the camera only.
No, exactly. Or you could just go and buy a 14 Pro at discounted pricing.
Possibly so. Yeah, and get most of the features without the aesthetics.
Exactly. Okay, so next one we have the 15 Pro and Max. Right. So what did we get? So we got all the old ultra wideband chip, the improved portrait mode, the roadside assistance, the Heath Max,
all the standard features,
all the standard ones we just talked about there. We got titanium, not just
Yeah,
any titanium, grade 5 titanium, the same kind of titanium you apparently used on the missions to Mars.
but why?
I don't know. Just go with this. So grade 5 is stronger than normal titanium, allegedly. It's also made the phone lighter than the last phone. They're saying. I don't know by how much. Um, but interestingly, they've got the colors, and we'll talk about the colors later on.
Yeah,
It's not anodized though, because you can't really anodize titanium.
no, you
Apparently,
can't.
I mean, I don't know about this. So it's some sort
I
of
did read that
coating.
as well. Yeah.
So I'm wondering how easy it'll be to scratch this coating off, and should you just go for the natural titanium look phone, because if you scratch it, it's not going to make a difference.
Well, apparently you can. I think you're right. There is type of anodization, isn't there? So there's. I did look into this, by the way. So
Yeah,
apparently there are two types of titanium anodizing. So there is a, if you will, in brackets, type 2 and type 3.
right,
Um, Type 2 is wear resistance.
right,
So that is typically used on things like orthopedic implements.
right. Okay.
So it provides wear-resistant surface and seizing or sliding between titanium surfaces. So if you've got a hip replacement, I guess, or something like
Yeah.
that, I'm guessing. Type 3 is the color titanium. So this is titanium color anodizing, which is widely used again in the medical world, because I think the example I read was like, imagine you're a surgeon. Can I have the blue screw, please? As opposed to, could I pass me a 12 millimeter titanium
Okay, that makes
screw?
more sense. Yeah, a
So
color
they
one.
use
Yeah.
that. So I wonder, my view, the point here, um, so type 3 has no industry specification, by the way. So there's no kind of standard, coding that in industry that is done here. The friction, the type 2 one, the wear, has a specification called AMS 2488, which is an industry standard.
Right.
Um, Type 3 has a variety of colors. Now, wait for this. Typical range includes silver, bronze, purple, blue, light blue, gold, rose, magenta, teal, and green.
Okay.
You do not get improved wear resistance with the color anodization.
Right.
So my point was to come back to get back to where you were. I think you're right. I think we may start to see some um, scratching effect here. Not massively, but I think people will start to complain that these phones perhaps scratch a lot easier than the previous generation. That's my opinion. I did some research. I needed to get
Yeah.
it out.
Because okay, we'll talk about colors now, because you have got black titanium, white titanium, blue titanium, and natural titanium. So I'm
Exactly. So
wondering, if you go for
yeah.
the black one and you scratch it, that's going to be quite a bright, stark scratch. You're going to see it
Well,
as the actual titanium color comes through.
do you remember the black gloss phones on? Was it the sevens?
The
Was that the
Darth Vader
seven?
ones.
Yeah, really nice. Remember how badly they scratched?
Oh yeah, forget the fingerprints for a minute, but yeah, the scratches, they were bad.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
fingerprints were terrible anyway. But yeah, so I kind of I kind of agree with you here. I think whilst the colours look stunning, the natural, which is basically, let's call it silver, realistically, isn't it?
yeah,
It's probably going to be your safest bet, isn't it, for that? But time
yeah,
will tell.
yeah. Oh, well, what else do we get? Oh, so obviously it's a newer design. It's got new rounded sides. So because the 14 Pro and the 13 and 12 are all, they're quite sharp sides, aren't they? Very square off. These look a lot rounder now.
They were, I was just looking at my phone as we're talking, and like, yeah, you're right. The 14 is quite a defined edge, isn't it?
Quite a 90-degree angle edge on it. So these do look a little. And the
Is that
reviews I've seen in the live footage, people hold them, they do say it feels a lot more comfortable in the hand.
I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, it's probably not a bad thing, is it?
Yeah, but with that comes allegedly the thinnest borders ever on an iPhone. I think I need to see this in person. It was quite hard to, even from the photos. They're definitely thinner, but how much thinner in person that looks, I don't know.
Yeah, because the 14s are not exactly massive bezels, but they are noticeable if you start to stare at the phone. They are noticeable, aren't they?
They are. I mean, if you're actually using the phone, they just disappear into the background. But yeah, if you've got a bright image on the phone, you can notice them. But they are uniform all the way around. I think that's one of the things that I remember reading, is that people do have thinner bezels. Like on Android, for example, like Samsung might have thinner bezels, but it's usually on your left and the right. The top and the bottom have thicker bezels. There's no uniformity. And Apple like things to be uniform, don't they? So apparently these are thin, the same thinness all the way around.
It is, and just on your point there about kind of the enclosures and that, they are IP68 rating as well, aren't they? So that
They
means
are
they can be water, isn't it, 30 minutes up to something like 20 feet or something.
something like that.
We've got other rust and small particles. And I didn't realize this. Apple have been doing IP68 ratings since the iPhone 11,
Yeah, a long time. It will save you from dropping your phone down the toilet on many occasions.
unless it's salt water.
Yeah, salt water is not good.
Yeah. But anyway.
Oh, wow. Oh, we got the action button, didn't we? So
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the mute
Switching
switch
places.
has gone. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
the action button. So they were actually showing this, the fact that you can customize what it does. If you hold it down, it will still act as mute. So hold it down, it will mute or unmute. But for the instant one, you can then customize it to maybe launch a camera, a flashlight, a shutter button. But you can also link it to what they call it. Someone was saying Siri shortcuts, but the automation platform on the phone. It's called Shortcuts. Is the app, and you can integrate home automation, do all sorts of automated bits and pieces, and you can tie those to this button.
I'm not overly enamored with this personally. I like the idea of having the mute button. I think knowing my phone is muted,
Yeah, I can
but
visually look at it. Yes.
the idea perhaps having, because you could use the up and down volume buttons, can't you, to take pictures.
Yeah.
That could be quite useful, I guess.
I'd
But
like it as a
maybe,
quick launch for the camera. I can pick up and just press the one button and launch
yeah,
straight into the camera.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be probably the only place I could probably end up using it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see how. I'm sure we can come up with some interesting ideas, especially if you're using shortcuts to trigger all sorts of things. It could be quite good. All right, what else did we get? Obviously, we got the new A17 Pro system on chip, didn't we?
We did indeed. Now this is also causing some debate, isn't it, about what is really the A17 Pro?
I'd heard it's not really. I heard it's a bit of an A16 with a wider bus on it or something along those lines. There wasn't much actual change other than going to 3 nanometers.
So yeah, depending on where you look, there are two kind of camps at the minute, aren't there? So the A17 Pro comes with 2 high performance cores, 10% faster than
10%
previous
faster.
generation, 4 efficiency cores, which is, according to Apple, is the most efficient mobile CPU ever made, and is a
And
3 times
Apple just said they are faster efficiency cores. So I'm only expecting 1 or 2% there.
Yeah.
It's got to be really small.
And your point there, they've gone to 3 nanometer here. So this is the first as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms for Apple, not for the industry, but for Apple.
Well, no one else in the industry will have it for the next year because Apple have bought everything from TSMC. They have an exclusive for the next year.
Yeah. So we don't quite know what the speeds the cores are running at. That will come out, but the A16 runs at 3.46 and just over 2 gigahertz respectively.
Yeah.
So if you extrapolate 10% on top of that, you get a rough idea of where they are. They claim and say it's the fastest single-threaded mobile CPU, and to be realistic, they're probably right.
It will be.
Let's be honest, aren't they? At this point,
definitely.
The other major point with the A17, excuse me, is the new what Apple refers to as a Pro class GPU, isn't it? Which has got 6 cores,
20% faster.
20% faster. Apple design shader architecture. Again, it supports mesh shading, and also apparently supports ray tracing, doesn't it?
Hardware ray tracing.
Ray tracing.
AI upscaling. So like NVIDIA's DLSS. They think they call it, is it Metal FX? They're calling it. But yeah,
that's the one. Yeah.
Hardware ray tracing. So console-like graphics on your phone, apparently.
Now, all of this is great, but there are some critics out there that are saying that this actually is just a Gen 2 A16, aren't they?
They are. Even the code name, apparently internally, or the chip name of it is basically A16 Mark II.
but with the code name for the new cores, which is I think Cole, which was on there as well, which is the code name for the A17. Now again, we don't have insight to the industry side, as in Apple, and again we're taking it with a pinch of salt, some of these reviews. So people are saying that Apple have done a bait and switch. There are rumors that actually the first batch of the 3 nanometer CPUs hasn't been as good as Apple had hoped. I think they said the bin rating was quite low, wasn't it, compared to
we were kind of expecting that, and that was part of the deal with TSMC, that they're going to cover that cost for Apple being the guinea pig.
Yeah. So there are people saying, basically you've got here what Intel used to refer to as a TikTok, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The different cycles of performance. So this is a tick, isn't it, over the last
Of the top, yeah.
generation, as opposed to a TOC, which is a brand new architecture.
But
Now,
you,
obviously, Apple aren't releasing brand new architectures because this is the A series and the M
yeah,
series now are very similar, aren't they, in
they are,
terms of
yeah.
how they built. But I think my view on this is nobody's ever complained about slow CPU in an iPhone.
No. And you
You
did
know,
get some new bits. Okay, so
yeah,
the cores, forget that, they're slightly better. You've got the hardware ray tracing, the better GPU. You've got a new neural engine, which is apparently twice as fast. You've got a dedicated hardware AV1 decode chip in it now, rather than doing it in software. You've got 8 gig of RAM, up from 6 gig. So you are getting more, just maybe it's not as more as some people wanted.
no, and you've got support, as you say, with us. To take a step back as well to talk about USB again.
Yeah.
We've got another controller, a USB-C controller in here.
Yeah.
Which is now we suspect the 3.2 specification up to 10 gig. Yeah. Thank you. So you've got all of that, and what this phone is designed to do again. And I come back to my last statement around the iPhone 15 when we talked about the USB performance.
Yeah.
For 99%, in fact, probably 99.9% of people that will buy this phone will never, ever tax this phone to the capabilities that it can do. This chip is more powerful than desktop processors, from a couple of years back.
Yeah.
The onboard video processing, as you've just mentioned there, is phenomenal, and whether you do it or use it or not for that, the fact that you can take and shoot 4K 60, we'll come to the camera in a second for a bit more detail, but things like 4K 60 video in raw, sorry, ProRes thing with Dolby Vision, and other capabilities that I won't steal the thunder for a second, and then theoretically edit that on the phone,
Yep.
and export that. That's not a phone anymore, is it? Let's be honest,
No.
that is not a phone anymore.
And I didn't actually see with the USB-C on the Pro, can we use that to output to a display? Could we plug a monitor into that? Hook up a USB keyboard and mouse and actually do some video editing on DaVinci Resolve or something like that? I don't know.
Part of me says there are two answers to this.
Capabilities are there, but is it there as software? Will Apple let you do it?
That was it. That was my
Yeah. Okay. So we got the 3.2 Gen 2 port. Apparently, it's got Fred support as well. The first phone ever to have Fred built into it.
Yeah. So to take a step back, I think to answer your question, yeah, you can plug your phone into a monitor.
You could do it Lightning, couldn't you? You got the Lightning adapter, so you should do USB-C.
But what you wouldn't get is like the Samsung DeX capability, where it defaults.
No, it's not going to give you an iPad interface or anything like a desktop
no,
interface.
that's what. But yeah, to your answer, yeah, you probably could. But yes, sorry, Thread. Yes, that was another thing, isn't it? We've now got Thread.
They didn't announce it. It just came out afterwards that they've now got Thread support built into the phone for home automation, IoT kind of stuff. So we're interested to see what they do with that.
Well, the HomePod Mini was the first device, wasn't it, to get Thread support, which is out there now. We're seeing it roll out across most of the devices in the kind of home automation ecospace. Google are doing the same slowly but surely. But yeah, I think let's talk about some of the other features, because a lot of the standard stuff goes between the phones, doesn't it? But we've got we've now got 5 times. So let's talk about the camera a little bit. So the camera is again where the main upgrades have come as well. Not massively, because we're not seeing a massive jump in the camera, have we? But we've seen some new capabilities, and also a little bit in the design of it. So do you want to cover a couple of those points?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get too much. There wasn't massive change. There was one massive change, but the rest of the cameras was pretty much the same. So the 48 megapixels, a new larger sensor in it on the main camera. We got the 5 times optical on the Pro Max, not the Pro. Now
that's equivalent, isn't it, to 120 millimeter?
Yes, but it's not a periscope lens. It's a tetraprism. I mean, it didn't look like a periscope, to be honest. It's some kind of weird bouncing light between 4 different mirrors, all in one package. But
do you need to be a physicist to be able to work this out?
Yeah, it didn't look like a periscope like I've seen on the Samsung stuff. So it is something different from a periscope lens, but it achieves the same kind of thing apparently. But only 5x, no 10x or anything like that. But we'll see what those images actually look like when they come out. What else? Oh, we can now record spatial video. For use on your Vision Pro headset if you happen to have one.
Yes, if you've got one, you are one of the few people on the planet. But yeah,
So that was
when you
quite a
can buy
niche
one.
feature there. You can shoot, as you said, I think 4K 60 RAW and output that directly to a hard drive connected to the USB-C port on the phone, so you don't have to eat up all your storage.
That's a really clever point because a lot of people are using these phones to shoot video with now, aren't they? Many films have been done with it,
Yeah,
video things. So if you've got the right cables, I'm guessing what Thunderbolt cable? I'm guessing
hey,
is
you don't need
probably
Thunderbolt. You just need a USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 cable, which is most of them. As long as the cable do 10 gig speed, they're quite cheap.
also branded as Thunderbolt in many places.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You can see I reckon we're going to see rigs because I've seen a few of these pictures, wasn't it? I think we were talking the other day that um, who was the singer? Olivia Rodriguez, I think was the
Yeah,
one, wasn't it? That was announced that before the event they'd given her team an iPhone 15 Pro and they'd shot her latest music video on it.
yeah.
Um, and then what we'll end up seeing is probably those rigs with gimbal rigs, isn't it? So you don't get
Yeah,
the
with a
empty
slot to
pushes.
put your hard drive in.
Yeah, and you'll be shooting that. So because if you think, isn't it, you're shooting an hour. What's it? I think was it a gig for an hour of 4K video or something like
Oh,
that? Was
way
it?
more than that, I'm sure.
I can't remember, but I think that was 4K 30 maybe. But yeah, you're right. So you're going to fill up very quickly here. But if you've got the hard disk on it, that's going to be really impressive.
Yeah,
Really impressive.
definitely. I don't think it was much else than the Pro. I mean, it was the same price, same storage for the 15 Pro. The Pro Max kind of got a price bump, but depends how you look at it. So the 15 Pro came in same price. You got the 128, 256, etc., etc. 15 Pro now starts at 256 gigabyte storage. So if you were buying the 128, then yes, there's a price increase. But if you were already buying the 256 like me, it's actually come down in price. If you look at the UK, I think I paid over £1,300 last year for a 256 Pro Max on the 14. This year, it's only going to cost me £11.99.
Yeah, but that, just to be clear, that's without Apple Care, isn't it? Let's be honest.
That's without Apple Care. Yes, I mean I
Yeah.
didn't have Apple Care last year. I was just having a look. Out of curiosity, I was like, wow, I think it was £1,310 or something like that last year. It was quite a price increase last year for the Pro Max, and it seemed to have settled down a bit.
Yeah, I think it has. And what I would say is, always interestingly was, I think it was last year, or the year before, I can't remember. They stopped introducing or making you take Apple Care with the iPhone upgrade program as well, wasn't it?
I think it was
Because
last
that
year.
was
Yeah.
yeah, that was it. Because I noticed that when I was looking at the pricing myself, um, about whether or not to go for it. So
No, I
look,
wish I'd taken it after looking at my screen.
yeah, we were. Yes, that's another question. Yeah. Okay. So before we move on, then and close out on the phone and
Yeah.
talk a little about the watches. $64,000 question: are you going to buy one?
What, the 15 Pro
Yeah.
Max? I think I'm going to hold for the 16. While I quite like the look of the titanium, I want to see how this wears. So yeah, I think I'm going to hold off because great, we've got some of the new cat features backported to the 14 Pro Max. So great, it was less incentive for me. Yes, the 5X would be nice, but I can probably cope with 3X for now. And I'm just worried about this titanium being scratched to pieces and not wearing well. So I'm going to hold out, I think, on this one.
And I'm in the same boat. I think despite the camera upgrades, the GPU upgrades, and the flashy titanium, I think I can live without it. We did it before, didn't we? We went from the 12 to the 14. We skipped the 13. The cameras are great. Don't get me wrong, but the camera in the 14 Pro isn't terrible. Now,
No?
the 5 times telephoto zoom, I won't lie to you, that's probably very handy.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm I'm not jumping out. It's nothing to. I mean, it's a great phone. I'm not being like one of these other people going, "Oh, yeah, terrible." It's a
No,
great
no.
phone, but and also the ability to plug, the USB piece again. I'll be honest with you, very nice. Don't That's not a bad thing. But I'm, for the amount of time when I'm at home, my phones are charged wirelessly.
Yep.
When I travel for work, I've got a bag of cables. I've got lightning cables in there. I'm used to it. And at the moment, my Mac is USB C. My iPad is USB C. My AirPods are Lightning, and my phones are Lightning. So I still need a Lightning cable in there at the minute.
And all your family's iPhones are Lightning too.
Exactly.
So you're still
So
gonna
I
have to. I mean,
still need it.
my
Yeah.
iPad is Lightning, so I still have to carry a Lightning cable anyway. So it makes no difference to me at this point.
No, we'll see. I'll keep an eye on this, but at the moment, great device. But for the second time in my iPhone only career, since what so I've been with an iPhone for what, since generation 3G, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Um, so 3G to 15. This is the second one I haven't upgraded on. So
it
yeah,
is.
I can live. I can live without it.
It'll be fine.
Okay, cool. Right, let's in the interest of time, let's talk a quick on the watches then, cover the watch off because again we
Okay,
had some minor updates on the watches as well, didn't
we
we?
did. So we got the Watch 9, and we got a brand, apparently, allegedly, really a brand new chip in it. Not a
The
rebadged S6.
S9.
It's the S9 is actually new. 60% more transistors, 30% faster GPU. It's got the new neural engine from the iPhone, so twice as fast. Apparently, the storage has been bumped from 32 gig to 64 gig onboard
They
storage.
have
But
on both devices, yeah,
yeah, they
yeah.
have. So a lot more with that new neural engines. A lot more Siri is now processed on the device, not have to wait for an internet connection. Big upgrade on the display as well. So the display is twice as bright at 2000 nits and goes all the way down to 1 nit. So this is a brand new display. You've got that same 18-hour battery life. What else? Pink. You can get it in pink now. So you've got pink, midnight, starlight, silver, and product red from launch. So no blue this time because you've got the blue one, haven't you? Oh, you've
What's
got the
that?
red one.
I got red, product red.
You
I
got
have,
red.
yeah,
I
yeah.
looked to get in the blue. So there's no blue now. You've got pink instead. And of course, you've got the same stainless steel in gold, silver, or graphite, I think as they call it. What else? No more leather.
No, no more leather at all, isn't it? The goodbye, and they also talk of end of silicon, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, not quite no more leather. So, Apple partner with Hermes, don't they?
Yes.
And Apple didn't really say it, but if you go to Hermes' website, you
Bye
can buy
bye.
a brand new Watch 9 edition with all the leather you'd like. So, but not an Apple site. You can only get it with Hermes' new fabric bands. So, kind of no more leather, but not really. And obviously, all the third parties you can get rid of leather from. But this is a good one from Apple to try and get rid of leather and stuff like that and help the environment.
So the phone. Let's say the phone's very nice. Again,
Hmm.
the new design to take advantage of WatchOS 10, which is
Yep.
we've talked before that came out about the improvements on that, looking very nice, much better UI, the ability to scroll, the use of the button on the side now brings up the tool tray, doesn't it,
Yes.
with all the capabilities. And if you dial the crown, you get now kind of a carousel effect of open apps,
Widgets
and
and
then
stuff, don't you? Yeah.
that's right. If you press the button, you get the apps, the little icon apps now
Yeah.
scroll in a line as opposed to the weird
I've been
kind of
using it that way
octagon.
for ages. I
Yeah,
turned off the weird moving thingy.
oh, that's crazy. So again, no major new sensor changes in here. We've
No,
still got the temperature sensor from the Series 8 watch. The battery has increased supposedly as well. Is it now up to 18 hours? I
I
think,
think
isn't it?
I've got it down. It's the same 18-hour battery life as
It's the 8, isn't it? Yeah.
the 8. Yeah,
Up to 36 with low power, isn't it, as well?
that's
That's
the
the
one.
one.
Yeah.
It's it's pretty good. We've also got a new feature though, haven't we? Which is called the double tap, isn't it?
Why
Where
is it new?
well, well, let's talk about it, then we can say whether it is. So the double
Yes.
tap, basically is you lift your watch up and you pinch your finger, your forefinger and your thumb together.
Yeah. Do it
And
twice. Double tap. Yep.
double tap, and it recognizes
The
what you're
gesture.
doing, and the gesture can be used to answer calls or turn the alarm off or whatever you want to do. Um, and apparently, this is really clever. If this is true, it uses the neural engine to detect data from several sensors, including the accelerometer, the gyroscope, and the heart sensor, to
Yeah.
detect the movement and blood flow in your wrist from your hands.
Yeah. Very,
That is
very clever.
absolutely amazing. Now, there are rumors that this could be a control mechanism for the Vision Pro.
It is. You use double tap, don't you? In the
Yep,
Vision Pro. Yep.
which is a training mechanism here. But also, as you are about to point out, this is also a disability feature that has been around in
For a
some
while.
form for a little while, hasn't it?
Has, because I was sitting here and I watched the event with my son, and he was like, "That's not new. I've been using that." I'm like, "No, you're talking rubbish. Apple would say it's
Yeah.
new. I'm wrong. I'm sorry, son. You were right. It is. It's been the accessibility feature for the I think the last two versions of the OS. You can enable it now on your WatchOS 8.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just Apple bringing something from accessibility to the fore, and highlighting it.
So yeah, but nice looking device, new color lineup, as you say.
A
It
nice
is
solid improvement, I think. It would have been lovely to get
improvement.
some more
Yeah,
sensors in there,
I
definitely.
think if you're coming from a 7, this is probably a good place to be.
Or
If
a
you're on an
4 like
8,
me, I'm really
yeah, or a
tempted.
4, yeah. If you've got other ones, it's probably not such a great position.
No,
But on the other hand, go from it. Come on, so let's talk about the Ultra 2 then. So the
the
Ultra 2, a little
biggest
bit of a
disappointment
disappointment.
of the event.
Yeah.
So what do we get? So we got obviously the same S9 SoC and 64 gig of storage. We got an update to the display that now goes up to 3,000 nits and again down to 1. Yeah, and that's it.
Well, we got a new battery life, so we got up to 72 hours in low power
Is
mode.
that new? I thought that
Um,
was the same as the
no,
Ultra one.
it is a slight increase. It's a
Oh,
slight
slight
increase.
increase. Okay.
Slight increase. Apparently, you can now dive to 40 meters and supports free diving. So remember that was the whole thing before, wasn't it, around the dive computer, which wasn't quite the same push, was it, with this one?
No.
Here, apparently there's new cycling updates, but that really is more software refined, isn't it? There's a new watch
I think
face.
you can add Bluetooth accessories for cycling directly to the pair directly to the
That's right.
watch.
Yeah, we've got 3 new band colors, and they're all carbon neutral now as well. So really, you're right. This is a bit of a disappointment. The whole, titanium black or
I
whatever,
want the
black,
black
ultra
one.
black. We'd have bought that,
I would have bought
outright.
that. I'd have that turning up next Friday if it had been in black.
Yeah, and I mean, I, I like. I said to you I was going to go ultra. I still am.
But
I
not Ultra 2.
just, I don't know. It depends what I mean. Let's be honest. Unless I pick up a refurbed Ultra One,
Yeah.
which probably isn't a bad idea, to be fair. Yeah, what's in it for me? The battery life's great, but the battery life on an Ultra is pretty awesome.
Yeah. See, I don't like the colour. I don't like the silver. I want a darker colour. And that's what's put me off getting the Ultra. I just don't like the colour of it.
Oh, I think you'll cave.
No, I think I have priced. Oh no, I priced up a Watch 9 in stainless steel with the Milanese band and realised it was the same price as the Ultra. I went nope. But
You're all posh bands anyway.
I might just get the standard aluminium in. What are we calling it now? Midnight. That's the one.
Midnight,
Midnight with the
midnight.
Milanese band at 470 and call it a day.
Well, look, it is what it is in that sense, and I think I don't know. I'm still. I want.
It's a
I miss. I
disappointment.
miss that
That's
last.
what it is.
It is a slight disappointment. I don't deny that, but I think I was so annoyed that I didn't get it last time that I've got to
I
go
just
back
think,
and fix that problem.
yeah, after the last year's event where they introduced it and had all these new features, it was whizzy and it was wow. I was just maybe my own fault. I was expecting a bit more from the second gen. Because at the end of the
Yeah,
day, hardware wise, all you got was the S9 SoC, a bit more storage, and a brighter display, and that was it.
no, it's a fair point. It is a fair point, given what it is.
I kept waiting
But
for him to go, and here it is in midnight black or whatever we're going to call it. And it just didn't arrive.
yeah, no, it's a fair point. It's a fair point, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap up, then let's have a quick talk about the iOS. We've talked a little bit about iOS quite before, so we won't spend too much time talking about the actual features. But just to let you know that iOS 17 and iPad OS 17 are releasing officially on September the 18th. But if you've been doing the betas, you will have had the release candidate updates all available to you now,
You
so it
will.
is already out. We're not seeing any. I don't think any major new features that have dropped yet. Have they?
No, other than the
that was
ones
in
tied
betas,
to the phone, so like the Heath
yeah,
Max and stuff that wasn't in the previous betas, and it seems to have appeared in this one. And one's obviously to support the new phone features, but
correct.
yeah,
So the only thing is that iOS 17 has only supported models up to the A12 Bionic or newer. So anybody's got an iPhone XR or XS, tiddly pip, you are no longer playing the game.
no. iPads, though, surprisingly, originally it wasn't planned to be in my iPad Pro, which has the A10X. A10X, I can't remember now what I had in my iPad Pro. It was the first gen 10.51. Wasn't going to get it, but then it appeared that I can now have it. So they've obviously widened that for the iPad OS.
Definitely. And the other thing is things like voicemail, so live voicemail. I haven't seen that on my phone yet, whether that works yet.
Is
I
that
don't
still
know if
US
it's one of
only,
the,
though?
I think it is. The other thing is new standby mode, which obviously was in the betas, but now is working properly. So that's quite nice. I've tried that. It really does work nicely, that standby mode.
Yeah, because it wants to activate it every time I stick it in my dock in my car for CarPlay.
Yeah, no, mine doesn't do that, thankfully. And the other one, of course, is the contact posters. So you can now define those, and they were working well. The journal app, however, is the one thing I want to get working, which I don't know if that's out in Europe either.
Oh, I don't know yet on that one.
I'll have to double check on that one. That's the only one I hadn't had a chance to check. But and on the other bad side of that is macOS Sonoma was the other big surprise. So macOS Sonoma, usually macOS updates tend to come out in October.
Yeah.
Because they're launched a lot. Mac, it's normally released alongside a new Mac. Now, this has caused some consternation in the sort of Apple, critique journalist world to suggest that the fact that macOS Sonoma is now available on the 26th of September, so earlier than normally, means that we will not see an event in October. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
But I've got mine all updated. It works beautifully. I have to say, I think there's some lovely updates. The only thing I will say is that I do feel macOS is getting closer and closer to iOS style UI. That's all I'll say.
A bit more Fisher Price.
A bit more Fisher Price. So then I think the big surprise is then, before we kind of mention a couple. So we didn't get the colors that we expected.
No.
The iPhone and the watch leaks were pretty much out. Everybody had said they were for several months.
Pretty much.
Roadside assistance, I think, was pretty much a big feature that nobody saw coming.
That was good.
macOS we just talked about. We didn't mention about the headphones, did we? That they're getting USB-C as well, aren't they?
Oh, the AirPods Pro, are getting a USB-C case. There's no difference on the Pros other than you get USB-C case now, which you can't buy separately. Apparently, you have to buy the whole set.
No, you have to buy a brand new set of AirPods, don't you, if you want the case?
Right. The AirPods, which are the wired ones, they now available USB-C. And apparently, I read something to support spatial audio. No, not spatial audio. High def audio, whatever we're calling it.
Oh, well, yeah, of course it wasn't supporting that, was it? Yeah.
No, but now with USB-C, apparently it is.
Funny that.
Apparently AirPods Pro will as well, but only with the Vision Pro.
Oh, Kikoki, that's interesting.
I don't know. I heard that as well. iCloud got a bump. No, not to the base storage. You still only get 5 gigs for free. But you can now buy 6 terabytes a month for $30 or 12 terabytes for $60.
That's pretty impressive. For all those people that moan they didn't have enough space in 6 terabytes should keep everybody happy.
Just give me a 1 terabyte model. That's all I want. I don't need the 2 terabytes. I just need the 1. But
you are the outlier. Go on, go on.
Finally, the big event, the big news. You can now buy a USB-C to Lightning adapter direct from Apple for £30. But hey, and that's a wrap.
It is a wrap. Oh, and I guess the one thing we should have mentioned was Apple's other big push in the event was around sustainability, wasn't it? So this was the key message throughout the whole event was sustainability. And Apple are, the mint we mentioned about the leather reduction there, the carbon neutral that's Apple's big push going forward. But they, like Carl said, that's a wrap. I think not quite the big event that we hoped it would be, but nevertheless, some great products out there for those that are looking to upgrade. And once we get our hands on with some of the new tech, we'll let you know any new features or capabilities that come out.
Definitely.
So with that, then we'll be back next week, episode 145, for the usual programming that we promised last time around the latest stories of hacks, breaches, and other cybersecurity issues in the market, as well as some rumors already. Yes, some rumors already for what's coming next year with Apple, plus something from Microsoft. You can find us on X, Twitter, whatever we're calling it this week, at Weekly Tech Rant, and of course all of our show notes at techrant.online, and of course wherever you get your podcasts from. Anything else, Carl?
No, that's it.
Right then. With that then, I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Have a good day all.